All right, let's dive into one of the most talked about, most controversial vehicles on the planet right now, the Tesla Cybertruck. We're going to break down Marques Brownlee's deep dive review, and he kicks things off not with the features or specs, but with the truck's biggest danger. Yeah, you heard that right.
So, NKBHD starts with this brilliant hook. He says, the most dangerous thing about this truck, it's not what you think. It's not the fact that it's a 3-ton beast, or that it has supercar acceleration, or even those crazy sharp steel corners that everybody's talking about. So if it's none of those things, what on earth could it be?
What is the real danger then? This question is really the whole point of his review. See, it's not about the truck itself physically. It's about us and how we react when we see one on the road.
And there's the answer. The biggest danger is just how it makes other people act. It's totally unpredictable. You've got people literally swerving across lanes trying to snap a picture on their phone. You've got other people filled with pure rage. Every single time you take it for a drive, it's like you're in the middle of some wild social experiment. And all that craziness, it's pretty much all driven by how this thing looks. So let's get right into that. The design. Is this thing a sci-fi masterpiece or just a refrigerator on wheels?
You know, Marques pointed out this really fascinating disconnect. If you go online, oh man, the comments are just brutal, horrible, a refrigerator, a total disaster. But then in the real world, it's a completely different story. People are just mesmerized. They think it's crazy, that it looks like a movie prop or something alien. It's kind of the perfect example of how online hate just doesn't always show up in person.
So what's causing this intense reaction? Well, it's this combination of things. You've got that cold-rolled stainless steel body, the fact that there are just no curves anywhere. It's all sharp angles. And you've got that insane full-width light bar up front. But Marques says the most iconic, the most recognizable angle, it's the side profile. That super high shoulder line and that crazy sloped roofline, it's a shape you just won't see on any other truck out there.
Okay, so we know it looks wild, but how does it actually work? How does it drive? MKBHD decided to break this down by playing a little game, overrated or underrated for each of the big features. And you know what? That sounds like a great way for us to do it too. Let's play. All right, first up, steer by wire. Now, what does that even mean? Well, the steering wheel you're holding isn't actually physically connected to the wheels. It's all electronic. Think of it like a really fancy video game controller. So, is that just a gimmick, or is it a true game changer?
Their verdict is in, and it is underrated. Wildly underrated, in fact. Marques says that when you combine this with the four-wheel steering, this gigantic truck suddenly feels small, like as nimble as a little car. He said parking is an absolute breeze, and you never have to do that awkward hand-over-hand thing on the wheel. It completely transforms how it feels to drive this beast.
Okay, next on the list, let's talk about that infamous bulletproof stainless steel body. I mean, do you really need an armored truck to go get groceries? Is this a practical thing, or is it just complete overkill?
So here's the deal with the steel. There are definitely some pros. I mean, yeah, it's super durable against things like shopping carts or little fender benders. And yes, it can apparently stop smaller bullets. But the cons? Whoa, the cons are big. It is a massive, massive fingerprint magnet. The windows and tires aren't bulletproof, so there's that. And maybe the biggest thing is that this steel is incredibly hard to manufacture, which is leading to all sorts of quality control issues.
And for all those reasons, the verdict is overrated. Look, for your average person, the daily headache of the fingerprints and the real risk of getting a truck with manufacturing flaws, it just outweighs the very, very niche benefit of being kinda sorta bulletproof.
Okay, but what about actual truck stuff? You know, towing big things, hauling stuff in the bed, going off-road. Can it actually do the job, or is it all just for show? Now, before we give you the verdict on that, you gotta see this number, 63%. According to a survey, that's the percentage of truck owners who say they rarely or even never tow anything. Keep that number in your head because it is absolutely key here. And here's that data in a chart. This is from a survey of F-150 owners. Look at those two huge slices of the pie. 35% say rarely and 28% say never. Add them up, and that's our 63%. It really shows you that for a huge number of people who buy trucks, it's less about heavy-duty work and more about, well, the image and everyday convenience.
And that brings us to the verdict, which is overrated. Now hold on, this is important. It's not because the Cybertruck can't do truck stuff. It actually can. It's pretty capable. No, it's overrated because, as Marques predicts, the huge majority of people who pre-ordered this thing, they're just going to use it like a big, glorified SUV. They're going to drive it on the street because it looks cool.
Next up, performance.
Okay, we've all seen it, right? That absolutely viral video of the Cybertruck drag racing a Porsche 911 while it was towing another Porsche 911? Insane. But is that the whole story?
This table from MKBHD's own testing, this tells the real story. Look at those first two lines. At 60 feet, the Cybertruck is winning. At 330 feet, the Cybertruck is still winning. It is unbelievably quick off the line. But then, look what happens. By the 8th mile, the Porsche pulls ahead. By the quarter mile, it's not even close. The Porsche is way faster. This is a perfect lesson in the difference between being quick and being fast.
And because of that, performance gets a rating of overrated. Look, it is an amazing, hilarious one-trick pony. That one trick, going crazy fast in a straight line, is super fun. But the moment you have to turn, the physics of a 7,000-pound truck just take over. The fun stops at the first corner.
So all of this brings us to a really important point. The reality of being an early adopter. What's it actually like to own one of the first Cybertrucks off the line? Because it's not all fun and games and supercar speed. There is definitely a price you pay for being first.
And this quote, wow, this really says it all. The latch for the driver's side door on the truck Marquez was testing, it just fell apart. It literally fell out. And it wasn't some big design flaw. It was just the bolts weren't tight enough at the factory. That's a pretty stark reminder of the kind of stuff that can happen when you buy a brand new first-generation vehicle.
And really, that's what this Foundation Series badge is all about. On the one hand, yeah, it's a cool status symbol. It means you are one of the first. But on the other hand, as Marquez so perfectly put it, it also means you're a willing beta tester. You're the one who's going to find all the problems so they can get fixed for all the people who buy the truck later.
So what does this all mean for the Cybertruck's future? I mean, right now, today, it is undeniably an icon, no question. But what about in 5 years or 10 years? Is it still going to be an icon then?
And this is where we get to the central paradox of the Cybertruck. See, think about an iconic car, like the Bugatti Veyron. Part of what makes it iconic is that it's super rare. They made fewer than 500 of them total. The Cybertruck? It already has over 2 million pre-orders. It's meant to be mass-produced. We've just never seen anything that's trying to be both an icon and a super common car at the same time.
And that brings us right to the final big question. MKBHD brings up the perfect example, the PT Cruiser. Remember that? When it first came out, it was this radical, head-turning design. And then, they were everywhere. It just became another car. So is that the future for the Cybertruck? When you see your 100th one of the day, will it still feel special? Does an icon stop being an icon when it becomes common? I guess we'll just have to wait and see.